Listen carefully. Most people are not weak. They are scared. They don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because fear controls their choices. Fear decides their job. Fear decides their relationships. Fear decides how small they dream, how quietly they speak, how little they ask for. And the cruelest part? They never even notice. Fear has been deciding your life for too long. You know what fear does? It doesn't kill you fast. It kills you slowly. One delayed decision at a time. One avoided conversation. One missed opportunity. One night, you stayed silent when you should have spoken. Fear doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It sounds reasonable. It says, wait until you're ready. It says, maybe tomorrow. It says, what if you fail? And you listen. Because fear is a master manipulator. It convinces you that safety is wisdom, that hesitation is patience, that staying small is being humble. But it's not. It's surrender. And every day you listen to fear, you lose a piece of yourself. The person you could have been starts to fade. The dreams that once burned inside you turn to smoke. Years pass, and one day you wake up and realize you became everything you were afraid of becoming. Not because you were weak, but because you obeyed fear like it was your master. Here's the truth. No one tells you. Fear never disappears. Never. The bravest warriors still feel it. The strongest minds still hear it. The most fearless people you admire, they're terrified too. But they move anyway. That's the difference. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. Fearless people are not people without fear. They are people who refuse to let fear make their decisions. They feel it, they acknowledge it, and then they step forward anyway. Because they understand something you're just beginning to learn. Fear is not real. It's a projection, a phantom, an illusion created by a mind trying to protect you from pain that hasn't even happened yet. Fear is your mind's way of keeping you safe. But safety is a cage, and you were not born to live in a cage. So how do you break free? You start by watching your mind. Not controlling it, not fighting it, watching it. When fear shows up, you don't react, you observe. You sit with it. You breathe through it. You let it speak, and then you choose differently. This is conscious mind control. This is the moment you stop being a slave to your emotions and become the master of your inner world. Most people are passengers in their own minds. Thoughts come, emotions rise, and they just react. But you pause. You notice the fear. You feel it in your chest, in your throat, in your hands. You name it. You say, there you are again. And then you breathe. Slow, deep, intentional. One breath creates space. Space creates clarity. Clarity creates choice. And in that choice, you take back your power. Fear only controls you when you react unconsciously. The moment you become aware, you become dangerous. Dangerous to fear itself. Because a mind that observes fear cannot be controlled by it. This is where you transform. This is where you stop being the person who runs. You stop waiting for fear to leave. You stop hoping for confidence to arrive. You stop needing permission, validation, or the perfect moment. You become the person fear cannot control. Not because you're unafraid, but because you move despite the fear. You speak when your voice shakes. You step forward when your knees feel weak. You try when failure is possible. And every time you do that, you prove to yourself that fear is a liar. It said you couldn't, but you did. It said you'd fail, but you survived. It said people would judge you, but you're still standing. And slowly, fear loses its grip. Not because it disappears, but because you stop believing it. Now listen, fearlessness is not built in one moment. It's built in 1,000 small moments. It's built in discipline. Every morning you wake up early when your body wants rest. Every time you choose discomfort over ease. Every moment you do what's hard instead of what's comfortable. That's where fearlessness lives. In the daily grind, in the boring repetition, in the moments no one sees. You train your mind like a warrior trains their body. Discipline is your weapon. Routine is your shield. Consistency is your armor. Because when discipline becomes your default, emotions lose their power. Fear can scream all at once. But if your discipline is stronger than your feelings, you move anyway. You don't need motivation. You don't need inspiration. You just show up and you do the work. Again and again and again. Until fear realizes it has no authority here. And here's what most people miss. Fearless people don't announce their courage. They don't post about it. They don't talk about it. They don't wait for applause. They move in silence. No explanations. No justifications. No need for external validation. They don't ask for permission. They don't wait for confidence. They just decide. And then they act. Quietly. Decisively. Relentlessly. Because real courage doesn't need an audience. It only needs commitment. You don't need the world to believe in you. You need to believe in you. And belief is built through action, not the other way around. So what happens when you live like this? When you stop running from fear and start walking through it? You enter a different state. A fearless state. It's not loud. It's not aggressive. It's calm. Deeply, unshakably calm. Because you've trained yourself to observe your mind, to control your reactions, to choose your path regardless of how you feel. You become focused, clear, detached from outcomes. You stop needing things to go a certain way. You stop fearing failure. You stop obsessing over what people think. You just move. With precision, with purpose, with total control over your internal world. Fear is still there, but it's background noise now. It doesn't drive you anymore. You drive you. And that is freedom. True freedom is not the absence of obstacles. It's the presence of inner control. It's knowing that no matter what happens outside, you remain steady inside, unshaken, unbothered, unfazed, because you are no longer controlled by fear. You are controlled by choice. So here's your path forward. Stop waiting for fear to leave. Start moving with it. Stop hoping you'll feel ready. Start acting before you're ready. Stop seeking comfort. Start choosing discomfort. Train your mind. Build your discipline. Observe your thoughts. And every single day, do one thing that scares you. One conversation. One decision. One step. Small actions destroy fear faster than big plans. Because every time you move through fear, you prove it wrong. And every time you prove it wrong, you become stronger. Not louder. Not softer. Stronger. The kind of strength that doesn't need to prove itself. The kind of fearlessness that doesn't need validation. The kind of power that comes from within. You were not born to live in fear. You were born to conquer it. Not by eliminating it, but by moving through it. Again, and again, and again, until one day you look back and realize fear stopped controlling you a long time ago. You just forgot to notice because you were too busy becoming fearless. And let me tell you something else. There will be days when you fall back, days when fear wins around, days when you hesitate, when you retreat, when you choose safety over growth. And on those days, weak people collapse. They say, "See, I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't strong enough." But you don't collapse. You recognize what happened. You acknowledge the setback, and then you return. Because fearlessness is not perfection, it's persistence. It's not about never falling, it's about always getting back up. Every single time, without drama, without self-pity, without using your failure as evidence that you should quit. You just reset, and you go again. That's the mark of someone who truly cannot be broken. Not someone who never feels fear, but someone who refuses to stay down. Now, here's what separates the pretenders from the real ones. Most people want to feel fearless before they act. They want the confidence first, the certainty, the guarantee. They say, "I'll do it when I'm ready, when I feel strong, when the fear goes away." But that day never comes. Because confidence doesn't create action. Action creates confidence. You don't wait to feel brave. You act, and bravery follows. You don't wait to feel certain. You move, and clarity reveals itself in motion. This is the secret they don't teach you. Fearless people feel exactly what you feel. The difference is the order of operations. You're waiting to feel different before you move. They're moving to become different. You're looking for proof that you can. They're creating proof by doing. You see the gap? One approach keeps you stuck forever. The other builds you into someone unrecognizable within months. And let's talk about what you'll lose if you stay afraid. Not just opportunities, not just experiences. You'll lose yourself. The real you. The version of you that exists beneath all the conditioning, all the doubt, all the stories you've been told about who you are and what you're capable of. That person is still in there, buried under years of playing it safe, years of avoiding rejection, years of choosing comfort. But they're still there, waiting for you to remember, waiting for you to fight your way back. And every day you choose fear, you bury them deeper. Every day you choose courage, you uncover them a little more. Until one day, you meet yourself again. The version of you that doesn't negotiate with fear. The version that doesn't ask permission. The version that moves like they have nothing to lose and everything to prove. Not to others, to themselves. Here's the truth about the fearless path. It's lonely at first. Because most people won't understand why you're pushing yourself. Why you're choosing the harder road. Why you're doing things that scare you on purpose. They'll call it reckless. They'll call it unnecessary. They'll tell you to slow down, to be realistic, to stop trying so hard. And you'll have to let them. Because their fear is not your responsibility. Your only responsibility is to yourself, to the person you're becoming, to the future version of you that's counting on you to stay strong today. You don't need everyone to understand your path. You just need to walk it. Alone if necessary. In silence if required. But you walk it, because the alternative is living a life designed by fear. And that's not a life. That's just existence. And you were not put here to exist. You were put here to become So here's what I want you to understand deeply. Fear will never ask you for permission. It will show up uninvited. It will arrive at the worst possible moments. It will whisper when you need silence and scream when you need clarity. And you will never control when it appears. But you will always control what you do next. That's your power. Not in stopping fear from showing up, but in choosing your response every single time it does. Will you freeze, or will you move? Will you retreat, or will you advance? Will you listen to the fear, or will you listen to the deeper voice, the one that knows you're capable of more? That choice is yours. Every single day, every single moment. And the more you choose correctly, the stronger that voice becomes. Until one day, it's louder than the fear. It doesn't silence the fear. It just outranks it. I'll leave you with this. You already know what you need to do. The conversation you've been avoiding. The decision you've been delaying. The risk you've been too scared to take. You know. Fear knows you know. That's why it's working so hard to keep you distracted, to keep you comfortable, to keep you convinced that waiting is the smart move. But waiting is not strategy. Waiting is fear, disguised as patience. And you've waited long enough. Today, you move. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, but consciously. You feel the fear. You acknowledge it, and you step forward anyway. Because that's what fearless people do. They don't wait for the fear to leave. They leave the fear behind. One step at a time. One choice at a time. One breath at a time. Until the person they were is unrecognizable from the person they've become. And when people ask you how you changed, how you became so strong, how you conquered your fear, you'll smile, because you'll know the truth. You didn't conquer fear. You just stopped letting it conquer you. Comment fearlesses if you choose courage over comfort from today.